The question of why Central Asians tend to trust Turkey more than Iran is rooted in centuries of history, culture, and geopolitics. To understand it, we need to look beyond today's headlines and go back to the legacies that shaped Central Asia's identity. Central Asia, stretching from Kazakhstan down through Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan, was historically influenced by two great civilizational forces, the Persian and the Turkic. For centuries, these two worlds overlapped, fought, cooperated, and influenced one another. Yet the memories they left behind in Central Asia are not equal. Iran's influence in Central Asia goes back the furthest. The region once lay at the heart of the Persian empires, the Achaemenids, the Sassanids, and later the Islamic dynasties that spoke Persian and promoted its culture. Persian was the language of poetry, scholarship, and governance across much of Central Asia for over 1,000 years. Cities like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Herat were major centers of Persian Islamic civilization. But the Persian legacy also carried a sense of hierarchy. Persians often saw Central Asian Turkic tribes as barbarians at the edge, useful as soldiers or slaves, but culturally inferior. Over time, Turkic tribes pushed back. From the 9th century onwards, Turkic dynasties like the Ghaznavids, the Seljuks, and later the Timurids began shaping the region's identity in their own image. By the time the Ottoman Empire rose in Anatolia, Turkic identity had become the political backbone of Central Asia. Turkic tribes shared language roots, nomadic traditions, and later Islamic practices that felt closer to what Turkey represented than what Persia represented. The divide deepened in the modern era. Iran, after the 16th century, became a Shia state under the Safavids. Central Asia, however, remained firmly Sunni. This religious divide mattered deeply. To the Sunni Uzbeks, Kazakhs, and Kyrgyz, Iran was not just foreign but heretical. This difference hardened over centuries, creating a natural distance between Central Asia and Iran. Turkey, on the other hand, always remained Sunni, specifically Hanafi Sunni, the same school of Islam that dominates Central Asia. This religious compatibility made Turkey feel familiar and trustworthy. It gave the impression of shared identity rather than foreign domination. When Russia conquered Central Asia in the 19th century and later folded it into the Soviet Union, the Persian legacy elevated further. Persian language culture was gradually replaced by Russian influence, but Turkic ties remained even under Soviet rule. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan still identified with their Turkic roots. Only Tajikistan, with its Persian language and culture, retained a strong Iranian identity. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 reopened old connections. Iran tried to present itself as a cultural partner to Central Asia, emphasizing shared history and Islamic values. But Iran's message was complicated by its political identity, a revolutionary Shia theocracy that sought to export its ideology. Central Asian governments, deeply suspicious of Islamic radicalism and determined to maintain secular control, saw this as a threat. Iran was not trusted because it was perceived as interfering in domestic politics. Turkey, however, approached Central Asia differently. In the 1990s, Ankara spoke of Turkic brotherhood, promoting a sense of ethnic and cultural solidarity. Turkish schools, universities, and businesses spread across Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. Turkey emphasized trade, language revival, and soft power. It did not attempt to impose religion in the same way Iran was suspected of doing. Another factor was geopolitics. Central Asia has long been a zone of competition between big powers, Russia, China, the United States, Iran, and Turkey. Among them, Turkey is the least threatening. Iran is a neighbor, but also a rival for influence, often clashing with Central Asian states over issues like Afghanistan or Caspian Sea borders. Turkey, by contrast, comes from outside the region. It poses no territorial claims and presents itself as a partner rather than a competitor. The creation of organizations like the Organization of Turkic States has further institutionalized this trust. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan see Turkey as a natural leader of the Turkic world. Iran, meanwhile, cannot be part of this Turkic framework. Its Persian and Shia identity sets it apart. Finally, the modern image of Turkey matters. Despite its political turmoil, Turkey has positioned itself as a successful middle power, economically dynamic, militarily strong, and culturally influential. Central Asians admire Turkish television series, music, and lifestyle, which feel close to their own traditions. Iran, by contrast, is often seen as isolated, under sanctions, and dominated by religious conservatism. The result is clear. Central Asians feel Turkey represents their cultural kinship, their Sunni faith, and their post-Soviet aspirations for modernity and independence. Iran, on the other hand, is remembered as part of an older Persian dominance, complicated by sectarian difference and political ideology. This is why when Central Asians look beyond Russia and China, they lean toward Turkey as a trusted partner. It is less about immediate politics and more about centuries of history, religion, and cultural memory that make Turkey feel like family, while Iran remains the distant neighbor across the mountains.